A new rumor alleges that Ubisoft has sold 300,000 pre-orders for Assassin's Creed Shadows about a month before the game is set to release on March 20th. Roll this up over at phantompulse.com. You can find the link in the description below. This comes to us from Tom Henderson at Insider Gaming. He reported Shadows currently has around 300,000 pre-orders. He went on to reveal that the most recent Ubisoft release, Star Wars Outlaws, had less than half the pre-orders Shadows currently has in the same time period before launch. Of note, he reported that Star Wars Outlaws only did about 1 million in sales in its first month. Henderson also compared the pre-orders to Assassin's Creed Odyssey, noting that that game sold between 400,000 to 450,000 copies by its release day. So indicating that I guess it is on track with Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And that's actually what we heard from Ubisoft in its most recent sales report. They said that pre-orders are tracking solidly in line with those of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, the second most successful entry of the franchise. During the company's conference call, their chief financial officer, Frederick Duguay, also indicated that the Assassin's Creed brand and franchise at large was doing well. He said, in regards to the back catalog, the Assassin's Creed franchise performed strongly throughout the quarter, highlighted by the Steam release of Assassin's Creed Mirage, confirming that the brand is in great shape. So I don't know if highlighting Assassin's Creed Mirage's release to Steam is an indicator that the brand is doing well, because if you look at it here, when I wrote this article, it's a screenshot from yesterday, 7,870 all-time peak when it released at the end of October. In the last 24 hours, it was just at 584. I wouldn't really say that that is performing really well. But again, it's possible that a bunch of people bought the game on sale, etc., and just haven't played it yet. So that could be how they finagle around the fact that it is performing strongly. But looking at this, that does not look like something where you would say that it the back catalog performs strongly. That doesn't look like that to me. But we did get some more comments from Yves Guillemot as well as Duguay during the conference call. Nick Dempsey from Barclays asked this question: was Odyssey the second biggest revenue generating game, or was it the second biggest unit sales generating game in its early months, first quarter, whatever works? I'm just thinking it had more in-game spending than previous Assassin's Creeds. I'm just thinking what our pre-orders might mean for our first 12 days of Shadows unit sales. And Guillemot responded, Odyssey is the second biggest performer in the franchise's history, very close to Valhalla in terms of units sold on the comparable time basis. At the time when we launched Odyssey, it set a new benchmark for the franchise, so it was a very successful first week. So that's what we can say at this stage. He went on and added, and when we look back, Odyssey has been accumulating 40 million players to date, so it's been really a great success. So what we see as a pre-orders benchmark is encouraging. Dempsey then asked a follow-up on whether pre-orders correlate to actual sales in the current environment compared to 2018 when Odyssey released. And Guillemot said, what we can see for the curve that we've been observing after just reopening the digital pre-orders for Shadows is really supportive of what we cannot see. But of course, the bulk pre-orders for the next 5 weeks is still ahead of us. So what we can see today, it's really positive. And of course, we'll continue monitoring this. Duguay then added, and there are plenty of indicators we look closely at to see how the game is expected by our players. We know that they've been saying that they get all this like positive community sentiment, feedback, etc. They flew all those people out to Disneyland for Star Wars Outlaws. They were saying they had the biggest marketing campaign ever for that game. And then we get the rumor that it only sold about 1 million units in the first month. And then, but by the time that the quarter is coming up, the second quarter is ending for Ubisoft, they're admitting that sales were softer than expected and the game underperformed. And in this most recent quarter, they're admitting not only did it affect Q2, but it affected Q3, noting that Star Wars Outlaw sales were not good for the quarter, not where they needed it to be. And then on top of that, they shut down X-Defiant, so significantly hurting their revenue expectations. I think they were expecting, 380, and I think they dropped it down to like 305, if memory serves. So it was not good at all. Regardless, this 300,000 number doesn't sound all that great, because Assassin's Creed executive producer Mark Alexis Cote shared just a couple of months ago that Assassin's Creed Shadows needs to sell between 8 million to 12 million copies to be deemed a success. This is what he said during an interview at XDS24. He says, when you look at who succeeds, at least in the AAA space, so I'm going to say applies to like mostly premium games, more traditional kind of AAA games. You have 10 games in any given year that will sell about 10 million copies. The reason I'm quoting the 10 million copies kind of mark is from what I've seen and how I've seen costs, our costs, and costs of competitors and everybody. Everything leaks in our industry, so you have privileged information on where the competition is going. But mostly, I estimate that 10 million copies, give or take 2 million copies, is mostly what you need to break even. But you have only 10 games that breach that every year. So he's saying in order to break even, you need to sell between 8 to 12 million copies, because he says 10 million, give or take 2 million copies, right? So that's 8 to 12. 300,000 is nowhere near that 8 million number on the low end there. He then broke down what those 10 games look like. Out of those 10, you'll have probably 3 sports games. You'll have 4 games on established franchises and probably 2 or 3 games that are surprise hits coming from nowhere. But that leaves very, very little room and wiggle room for success. So I'm trying to steer the Assassin's Creed franchise through that. So 300,000 might sound like a lot of pre-orders, but when you put it into context and you see what Assassin's Creed executive producer Mark Alexis Cote is saying here, that it needs to sell at least 8 million to break even. It's not a lot. It's not looking good for this game. I would not be surprised if we see another statement right before the Q4 conference call. The Q4 sales document is released, indicating that they are lowering their expectations for the entire year. They are not going to hit that $1.9 billion mark, and Assassin's Creed Shadows underperformed sales expectation, much like we saw with Star Wars Outlaws. I think we're going to see something very, very similar, because I just think a lot of people have already made up their mind about this game. They've seen enough. They are not interested in it. They don't like the fact that it does not have a male Japanese protagonist, and they're out. And I think that is going to hurt Ubisoft. The fact that they decided to basically eschew everything that they had done in all of their past games by giving you that male protagonist from the area where the game is set. And that is going to be catastrophic for them. And it's not going to end well for them. But they wanted to send a message. They wanted to push the DEI agenda. They have doubled down on that time and time and time again. And they're going to reap what they have sown. But let me know what you guys make of this rumor that Assassin's Creed Shadows has sold 300,000 pre-orders already, and it is on pace with Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Let me know what you guys think of this in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, and to always, always speak the truth.